thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. This is Up for a Chat with Cindy O'Meara, Karen Smith, and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics that are important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Karen Smith.
I'm Kim Morrison.
And I'm Cindy O'Meara.
And welcome to today's show where we are kind of talking about everything, actually. Yes. So our beautiful Kimmy has just been on a 7-day retreat, and I have been so jelly bean the whole week. I must have thought of you a million times, Kimmy. We can't wait to hear all about it and what you got up to, because I know there was forces.
And bees.
I know, and we're going to talk about bees, and we're going to talk about honey, and then we might even talk about some other stuff too. So strap yourselves in, listeners, because this is actually going to be one of those podcasts. You know those ones where we kind of just riff and we go all over the show because we've got so many things to say. And this is one of those podcasts where you get to feel like we're in your lounge room, you're a fly on the wall, and we are your girlfriends hanging around having a chat with you. So if you're listening to this, and it's, I don't know, anytime after about 11 o'clock, grab a wine. Or if it's before 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock or whatever it takes you fancy, grab a coffee or a tea, put your feet up and relax and listen.
I have my tea, Karen. I have my inflammation tea, so I'm ready to go. Go, girls. I'm happy.
and I'm not drinking wine. I'm not.
Even though it's after 11 o'clock.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, Kimmy, tell us, girlfriend, tell us about where you've been and what you've been up to, because OMG, I want to be you when I grow up. Really, I do.
Honestly, it was just the most amazing gift I have ever bestowed on myself and been given. But, I mean, I know not everybody listening to this would ever get the opportunity to go to a place like Gwinganna, which is in the hinterland of the Gold Coast. And I have looked at it for many, many years. In fact, I met the director 3 years ago at the Mark Burris Business Chicks event with you, Cindy. And I said to her there and then, one day I will be coming to your retreat, and I just didn't know when. And it's been on my vision board, it's been in my dream book, there's pictures of the Gwinganna in my, in our Manifesting Matisse book. And so to actually get there and to experience it was just what I needed. It had been such a big year last year, as you know. I've been exhausted working on this book, and I've been exhausted moving house and doing all these things, and it was called the Detox Retreat, which was 7 days. And basically we got immersed into a bubble for 7 days and didn't leave the property, apart from when we did a couple of hikes and a beautiful 10K walk that we did around the circumference of it. And it was just beautiful. But, there were lectures every day. There was Qigong every day. There was a beautiful breakfast, which was very detoxifying. And on the final night, I said to Jordan at dinner time, one of the guys waiting on us, I said, so tonight being our last night, Jordan, is there any chance that there's a little dessert? And he goes, well, funny you should say that. And we've all gone, oh, and I've gone, oh, yay. And he goes, it's called a herbal tea, and it's quite beautiful. And so, yes, we got no sweet treats, but it was very gluten-free. It was wheat-free. It was alcohol-free, caffeine-free. It was all of those things. And I'm sure people listening that do love all those things would cringe. But I have to say to you that being taken into an environment like that, if ever you wanted to go cold turkey, that's probably the way to do it, because you're so distracted by so many beautiful things. The environment alone, for those of us that know the hinterland of the Gold Coast, it's just stunning, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful experience. We had lectures every day on different topics, all the cutting edge research on different things that have been going on in the environment and in the world around. It was all cutting edge. It was stuff that you guys both talk about from a mind perspective and from the gut health. I mean, it was very general. I wouldn't say it goes as deep as what we do here on the podcast, but it was general because there were some people there starting their journey. And then there were people like us that have been on this journey for quite some time. And for me personally, it reinforced everything that we share here on this podcast. It made me feel very proud of the knowledge that our beautiful Cindy has around health and nutrition and wellness, and certainly made me feel incredibly proud of the likes of Karen with her unbelievable. In fact, I can honestly say, Karen, that it was probably lacking you, if anything, because they really could have done with a little bit more of the mind habit connections sort of things, but maybe it was just because it was at the beginning,
Yeah.
But it
that's
was beautiful,
isn't it? I went to oh gosh, the name's the Golden Door, and they asked me to do a 3-day event with them because they found it very difficult to find people who would be able to talk on the kind of mindset and the kind of struggles that you go through when you are going through those detoxes. And I did that one out at Newcastle, and that was absolutely beautiful. I haven't thought to offer my services to Gwinganna, though. That's never occurred to me. I wonder if I put that into my diary.
Yes, please. And
yes,
in fact, Cindy, I think they would have been blown away with Cindy's knowledge. But the treats were like, you had included in your package, depending on which package you ordered, you had 3 treatments as a part of that. And the spa menu was so extensive. It was freaky from oh my gosh, from a thing that I tried called the Spirit of Sound, which was a treatment that was crossed with Hawaiian and a lumi massage crossed with a music, and the music was very loud. It was drums and African and tribal, and then then Maori sounds came into it, and then Aboriginal sounds, and the way she massaged was at the beat of the drum I just can't even describe it. It was so amazing over a beautiful 2-hour period. It was just, I was completely transported to another world in that, because it felt like, when we've talked about regressions, particularly Cindy, around you in Africa and places like that, I just couldn't stop picturing us all in these tribal situations, or you going to Africa this year. Like I kept seeing all of these beautiful visions, and you're just totally transported to another place when you're in. And I tried things that, I didn't go for the Thai massage or shiatsu or regular massage, because I know I can get those beautifully here on the coast. So I chose treatments that were a little bit left field, and it was amazing. And then the other one was the equine therapy, which really intrigued me because it was also based on the 4 temperaments, which is the choleric, sanguine, phlegmatic, and melancholic personalities, which you both know I'm trained in. So I wanted to see how on earth she was going to pull the 2 of these things together with the power of horses. And oh my gosh, Sue Spence, oh my gosh, she was just phenomenal. Her story, I don't even know where to start, actually. I don't even know what to say to you, except that if you go to Healing with Horses, I think Healing Humans with Horses, I think is her website.
We should interview her.
I asked her, so we'll hopefully get her on. She couldn't believe it. She's so humble. She's like, a what? A podcast? So was Shelley, the organic gardener. She didn't even know what it was. She's too scared to even, she goes, oh, I'm not sure. And I asked Donna, who was the program manager, because I thought it would just be really cool because they see all different people. Do you know there was one man that went there and actually spent 9 months there? He was incredibly obese, unwell. He was on the verge, he was at crisis point with, he was going to die or he was going to try and do this to get well. And apparently the story of his progression over 9 months, I mean, I know what I felt over 7 days. Can you imagine what it would be like to be in that environment for 9 months? Of course you'd need a lot of money to do that. And this man was very wealthy. Had obviously got very sick getting wealthy, and now was using his wealth to get unsick. So maybe there's a bit of a message in that. So yes, my darlings, it was a week I will never ever forget. It was something, and it was all about myself. Each one of us, it was all about your own journey. So you had quiet time, rest time, walk time. You could do qigong. You could do as much as you wanted or as less as you wanted. You could go to all the lectures, or you didn't have to go to the lectures. And of course, I did everything and anything I could to experience the whole as much as I could. So I can't fault it, guys. It was phenomenal.
Gosh, it just sounds amazing. So tell us more about the horse whispering. Tell us more about what they did.
Well, when we arrived, Sue, this lady, she's won Gold Coast Businesswoman of the Year award. She's won all sorts of things if you look her up, Sue Spence. She has this, she didn't mean to, but she has these 4 horses. And these 4 horses were... she just noticed, and she got them from a refuge. One was saved from going to the meatworks. One was saved from she was being abused on this farm, and she just is one of those women who didn't do very good at school. She was classed as, I guess in this day and age, she would have been considered ADD or ADHD. She didn't thrive at school. She felt very rejected in all of those environments, didn't feel like she belonged, and the one place she felt great was on the back of a horse and working with horses. And you know, through that she spent so much time with horses. She felt so empowered, and she met another man whose name escapes me, but she was trained under him and just learnt as much as she could from this beautiful man who just believed in the power of horse whispering. And she noticed, without even realising it, that these 4 horses had 4 quite different temperaments, and she calls them Sonny and Larry, and I'll have to just grab my book in a second and tell you the other ones' names because I'm so excited telling you, but they had these 4 temperaments. And then she had the head of Queensland University, I think it was, who was the head of psychology, the psychology department, come and listen to her, because she was working with youths that were disadvantaged, and she was working with children that were, you know, in different criminal backgrounds and you know, dysfunctional families and misfortunate, beautiful young children and teenagers that were troubled. And she just found a way to communicate with them through the power of these horses. And this lady kept coming back to her talks because they kept getting more and more information out there of people having these transformative programs, these people that were becoming better human beings. And so this lady came along to see what it was all about. Now, Sue just raved the whole way, as she would with the way she'd talk about this with these horses. And the lady came up to her afterwards and said, actually, we'd quite like to academize, I think that's the word, academize this whole program, and it fits really well into our 4 temperaments. And Sue reckons she stood there going, you what? Like she just had no concept of how to academically create anything. And so she worked with the university, and this is now a program that is taught and worked with different institutions and different young offenders situations and schools. And to be honest with you, what happened is that you would work out which personality you were, which is very much based on what I call the powerful, playful, peaceful, and precise. And each one of these horses display different temperaments. Now, depending on your energy when you enter the arena with this horse, the horse will either tune into your energy or not. And so she'd make us stand on the outside of the arena with our feet apart, and she'd ask questions like, what's your favourite food? And I said, I don't know, a raw cheesecake. And she said, all right, Kim, well, imagine the raw cheesecake's right beside your hands, beside your legs. You're not going to squash it into your legs, are you? So every time my hands got too close to my body, she goes, oh, I can see the cheesecake getting squashed. So it was just so cute the way she talked. And then you had to walk in with confidence, your tummy and belly relaxed and your shoulders back, and just walk casually up to the horse. And I walked up to Jack, and a couple of the others had already had their experience, and I was watching the whole thing, and I walked up to Jack, and Jack, he lifted up his left hoof and put it down. He lifted up his right hoof and put it down, and then he just looked me right in the eye, and I can't even begin to tell you what I felt. I might sound like a loopy person, but I felt like I saw Jack, and I don't even know how to say it, but it was just like, I don't know, we connected, okay? We connected, and we just had the most beautiful moment. And does that make sense? Because Cindy, I'm frightened of horses because of falling off that one with you. And so it was a big thing for me and I'm not frightened of them, but I'm frightened to be in their space. I don't want to be shocked by them as much. So he just stood there, and the two previous people he'd got a little bit antsy with, and one woman in particular, he kept going really fast, and then she just told me to wave my right hand with the rope that was attached to him, and as I waved it, Jack walked back about 6 paces and then just stood there looking at me. And I just couldn't believe that as I waved my hand gently in my right hand and he walked back 6 paces, and then I had to hold the rein up and then this other rein in my right hand and spread it out wide. And then she said, now visualize him walking. And so I visualized him walking, and I just lifted my right hand, and Jack started walking in a circle. And then she said, now visualize and stand stronger and let him know you'd like him to trot. And so I just went, come on, Jack, you can trot with me. And I'm not kidding, he started trotting. And then she said, now go back to thinking about him walking. And I was watching her to see if she was doing something to make him do it, but she wasn't. She was right beside me. And he started walking, and everything I thought or talked to him with, he just, I don't know how to describe it. Cindy, you'd probably know more because you've ridden so much and you know these beautiful animals. But I cried. I actually cried, I have to say to you. I got very teary and very emotional being there with Jack because I just, I don't know what to say.
I would be beside myself howling. Honestly,
you would be, Karen.
Oh God, I would be a mess. I'd probably scare the hell out of the horse. I'd be an absolute write-off.
But I've watched those natural horse women and men, and they're quite phenomenal what they can do. I went to Farm Fantastic with my dad and another guy, and they had a natural horseman gentleman, and he was only young, and his wife and child were in the stand, and just watching what he could do with the horses. And but it was him. I could see him marrying up to these horses. He was, what do they call it? It's another word. I forget now, but they were coming together, and people who are horse people will know what I'm trying to say here. But I just love watching it. It is beautiful. It really is. There's quite a few people around the world that do that healing with horses, but I didn't know there was somebody here in Australia. So I look forward to interviewing her, Kim. She will be amazing.
Oh, I think she's just adorable, and she's a Kiwi. She's from New Zealand, troubled background, and she's just one of those women. I don't know if you've looked up her website while we've been talking, but horseshelpinghumans.australia.com is the main one. But she's the classic example, and what I think our listeners would gain from this is she's the classic example of someone who didn't know what to do. She was told she couldn't do a lot of things. She felt comfortable in one area of her life and just spent as much time as she could. And then from that, her business developed. You know what I mean? Instead of thinking, I must do this as a business and this is how I'm going to do it, it was a true passion, and people found her, and then people were writing articles about her, and then people were coming to her and asking her to come and do a talk at different schools or different institutions. And she's just one of those souls that you get into her energy and you just can't help but giggle and smile, and she just loves her horses, and she just is so beautiful to be with. But what was fascinating is that the horses actually did have these different personalities. And so what she was trying to do is, are you a Sonny? Are you a Larry? Do you behave this way? And then she'd get the students to say, well, I'm a Sonny. And then she'd talk to them as if they were Sonny and what Sonny would do. And that's where I could see the power. She believes that personalities are what gives you your identity. You know how many times we've all talked and we've gone, this isn't about boxing people in. This isn't about saying you're this and you're that, or that you can't be all things. Of course, we can behave in all 4 temperaments. But what she does, and what I loved about it, and what she saw the work gave her, was that the personalities actually gave her an identity and explained her, as she calls it, Sonny behaviour. Sonny is a rat bag. Sonny disrupts everybody, and if Sonny's not happy, then Sonny will show everybody. And she said, it's just like me. And the way she was talking, it was adorable to watch, because you could see she was this horse, Sonny, and I can see why it would appeal to young people who were troubled, or people that weren't sure about who they were. And a man that came along, he was sitting there with me and very quiet in the whole thing, but he wanted to go. He went to it because he was going through a problem, a marriage problem, and he wanted to understand how he could talk to his wife more. And he took from that for himself that it actually wasn't about being able to talk to his wife more. It was about owning his own personality more and being himself more, which I thought was an interesting analogy. So yeah, and then we got to talk. Then we got to go over and walk with another horse. And actually, while other people were working with Jack, then we got to go over with another horse and actually just visualize being with him. And we just stood with him and we scratched behind his ear and we could tell him things. And he walked with us, and it was like being with a therapist who couldn't talk to you but answered all your problems. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So yeah, and I did think of you, Karen, so much. I thought of Cindy, obviously, because I thought Sue had Cindy's hands, and I thought they must be horse people hands. So, and then I obviously thought of Karen because I thought if she was with me now, she'd be peeing her pants.
Totally.
So yeah, that picture I put up was me meeting Jack on my Instagram page, and
I saw that.
He was so nice. And she goes, "Oh my gosh!" And she kept saying to me, "Bring in your Tai Chi master energy," and that's how she talked to you to get you to connect with the horse. And yeah, he was beautiful, darlings. He was something else.
Well, sounds wonderful.
Talking about him.
Yeah.
So how long did that go for, Kimmy? Was that a day?
3 hours.
3 hours. So like a morning or an afternoon time you did that?
Yes, that was a 3-hour thing in the morning. So, the beautiful thing about, how we've always talked about, to have good health, it takes discipline. There is no doubt that health, anything that you want in life, it takes discipline to do that. And discipline includes things like education and doing things that are on a regular basis. So the way Gwinganna works is very much along the lines that the same thing happens every day, but different topics or different experiences are on offer. So, and I loved it. And honestly, I watched people transform before me. Now, it was like, one guy came in there, he's so gorgeous, his name's Howie, and he's a franchise owner of 9 McDonald's. He was a heavy smoker, but he was so hot and so lean and so fit. He'd lost 12 kilos since the beginning of the year, all stress related, but he needed a detox to clear his mind. And his takeaway was that he could leave this now the whole week and could handle all the things that were bringing him down from the beginning of the year. And the man that had his relationship issues, he was happy to go back in there and had actually surrendered. He said, "I've surrendered to it. I'm just going to trust that whatever occurs from this is the right thing for me." I think what you see occurs over this situation is, and another thing that was on offer was called Soul Path, and that was seeing, I guess you would say, a clairvoyant or a tarot card reader. And one lady lost her husband in October last year in a plane crash, and she went to see this person, and she came back and she just said she felt such comfort because apparently he did nothing but tell her he loved her every day, like he just adored his wife. And this lady turns around and she said, "Look, I don't know why, but I keep getting this person, this thing saying to me, 'I love you, I love you, I love you.'" And she just smiled and said, "Well, that's what he used to say to me every day." Now, you could say, that could be anybody, but it was very poignant for her, but because of the way he spoke and the way he did things. And he told her that, that he's right there, that everything's fine and everything will be all right. And she was such a classic. I just loved this woman. And she was in her 70s. And here she was doing this retreat for herself to nurture. And she said she walked away not only feeling better in her own health and wellness and obviously enjoying the whole environment, but she particularly loved connecting with a whole lot of new friends. And it's amazing what can happen in 7 days, as we've seen on our hikes and our trips. That it reminded me very much of what we do when we take our trips away, girls. only there was a lot more pampering, and I was actually going to put a request in that we suggest that after every day's hike that we include a lot more pampering, please.
Sold.
And horses.
Lots more.
Horses. Do we need horses?
I think we should always have horses.
We should always have horses.
Just not the ones that like throw me off. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say.
No, Kimmy, I had to get there before you did.
Exactly. I was waiting. I just hinting at it. Tell me about the guard, the lady that came in and talked to you about organic gardens.
Yeah, so there was 3 beautiful gardeners there, Shelley. And the other thing that's interesting at Gwinganna is most of the people that work there have been there from its inception, or certainly at least for the last decade. Dr. Libby Weaver started all her talks there, and of course she's had a massive part to play down there at Gwinganna. So Shelley, who has helped create the garden, oh my gosh, this woman knew so much about plants and so much about permaculture and organic gardening and cultivating, and everything was easy. And she talked about the moon chart, and she took us over to read the moon chart and the astrological chart. And there's this beautiful man called Thomas who lives on the Gold Coast. There's no power to his house, so when people ask for his website, she goes, there's no power. So he doesn't have a website. If you want his moon chart, you've got to order it online like the normal way, take it to the post office and he'll post you one. And it is so divine and so gorgeous and incredibly clever. So I learnt how to read the moon planting astrological chart, which I would love to show you both. I got you both a poster. And you will just love how you can read the charts, so much so that you can learn when. So you should know when to plant your seedlings, when to plant your greens, when to plant your roots, and when to plant your citrus. And every day on the calendar is mapped out according to the moon. And it's got on there, and she said things like when they planted outside of those things, and she showed one of the trees that was planted outside of it as opposed to the one that was planted in the right time. One was twice the size of the other. That's how much it can make an impact. But unless you're aware of this, you would just think it was normal. So of course, when when the moon is getting fuller, all the energy is going into being fuller. So that's when we plant our greens, because that's when the energy is coming up, and we plant our citrus in this time because the energy, the moon is pulling the energy up. And then when we go through the full moon and then the moon starts getting smaller again, then that's when we plant our root crops, because obviously all the energy is going down. And it was just, I know that to gardeners out there listening to this, you probably think I'm crazy because you probably already know this, but I had no idea around the whole moon charting. And it got to the point where she could even read on the chart when's a good day to ask for a pay rise. There's certain days on the 25th and 26th of this month that is the best days to clean your house. That came up. So the 25th and 26th of April is the best day to clean your house. It was just amazing to listen to her. And as we walked around the garden, she showed us how to pick edible flowers and where to plant, and to know that, I didn't know this, but when turmeric is growing, as we know, right up until this time of year, the leaves are very big and lush and green and taking in all the energy from the sun. And now they're starting to die off with autumn. Obviously, the leaves are starting to brown, and most people will go, oh, that's ugly, and they cut it off. But she said, if you just let the leaves do its thing, people think the plant looks unhealthy, but in fact now all the energy is now going into the root, and the turmeric is just absolutely getting all its energy into the base of the plant. And we walked down into the organic orchard, and right through there was sapotes, mangoes, pineapple, mandarin, grapefruit, lime. Her advice was, if you don't know what tree to plant in your garden, then everybody should at least have a lime tree. Limes can go with everything. And by the way, Shelley was also a chef originally at Gwinganna. So to then become the gardener and have the chef, she works really closely with the chefs on the flavours and the foods of the season and what things go well. And then she picks all these flowers and decorates. All our food just looked beautiful. If you look at my Instagram page, you'll see all the beautiful photos. So she was beautiful. And then she walked us into the organic garden and how they prepare all the beds. They had worm farms. And then there was basil, the beautiful silky chook, and he was, strutting his stuff around there. There was a peacock strutting around, and she said if we all just stopped and listened, the birds would tell us, and when a certain bird is chirping, she knows within 2 days the rain is coming, and so they all know to make sure that they plant certain things at that time because they know it's going to rain for some time. I'm not kidding. It is that accurate. It is that insane around nature if we just stopped and listened to the birds, the plants. If we observe nature in such a way, it talks to us in profound ways. It's just that we've lost touch. I thought of Dark Emu. I thought of many of our talks that we've shared together, and Cindy through your course and everything. It was just beautiful to hear it all, because this is the line that I know you take very much, Cindy, with your farm as well. And then, of course, she led us down to the bees and talked about the beautiful bee. And, oh, my gosh, this was so cool. She was talking – am I talking too much?
No, not at all. I'm loving it.
No. So we get down to the bees, and she goes, to become a beekeeper, it takes 50 years of practice. So I'm only 9 years in, and therefore I'm only a newbie, she said, but I love my bees. And she showed us, and she's actually allergic to them. If she gets stung by a bee, she has basically 10 minutes if she doesn't survive. So I think it's hilarious that she's a beekeeper. But anyway, they don't use smoke. They don't use any chemicals. Everything's organic. But she was talking about the worker bee and how the worker bee only lasts, do you guys notice that, it's 6 weeks that they last, and their job in the first 2 weeks is to nurse the larvae, or the queen bee if she's been out to the drone party. She called it a drone party, where the queen bee can fly anywhere up to 10 kilometres away, and a drone party is happening. So all the boys are waiting for her. And then she has a great night, and she has a really good night. And these boys, they hook on, first and best served, and they hook on. Apparently, they impregnate her with their sperm, and then they die. So the drones might think it's a party, but then they die. And then she may get impregnated up to 14 to 20 times, and then she may travel that whole 5 to 10 Ks back to her hive, loaded. And that's when she... it'd be awful to, sometimes she's, you see they've been hit by a car or gotten by a bird or a bat like she said, it's incredible what these queens do. And then they get back into the hive, and the nurses, the worker bees in the first 2 weeks of their life, come up and clean her off and get her all ready to start within 3 days planting the larvae. And all the larvae, now here's the fascinating thing, she said she's found black bees in her hives at times, and she's realised that obviously queen bees had some fun out there, but the sperm doesn't get separated, so all the black bees are planted in a row, and all the golden bees are planted in a row, and I found that fascinating. And then the worker bees in their second 2 weeks of their life, they're out there looking for food. So they can fly again anywhere up to 10 kilometres to find the best food. And I don't know if you've ever seen on TV or on documentaries when they talk about the worker bees or bee dancers, but the worker bee will come back into the hive and they do a dance. Now, according to where the sun is hitting the hive, this bee, she will dance around in a certain circle and in a figure of 8 so many times in direction to wherever the tree or the plant is that she found the most food, so all the other worker bees know where to go. How phenomenal is that? I mean, it is that accurate with where she can tell the rest of the hive to go. And there's 50,000 bees in each hive, and they all have a place and a part to play. And then if a black mite beetle comes in, then the worker bees also set about to making sure that these beetles get attacked. And apparently a clean hive, bee hygiene is very important. They're very big on keeping their hives clean. And if a disease gets in, or if sprays have been used or things like that, that can disrupt a hive very quickly. She was just, and I probably have not mentioned half this in the way that she would have, but you get my excitement. I was so lit up by the bees. And then, did you know that 1 teaspoon of honey is a worker bee's life? It took that worker bee her whole 6 weeks of life to make you that 1 teaspoon of honey. And she said, so when I see people not scraping everything out of the rest of their bowl of their honey, she's like, that's 2 or 3 worker bees that have lost their life, and you haven't even acknowledged them with their food. So she was very big on making sure that you always scrape every bit of honey out of there. So yeah, I loved it, darlings. Loved every bit of it.
It sounded like you learnt so much too and reconnected. It's almost like a reconnection with earth, animals, plants, and yourself. So, I've never taken a week out of my life to do a retreat like that, and just, because that's what we should be doing. We should be taking that time out and having that retreat time. So, congratulations.
I always lead them, and that was the cool thing, to actually participate in one from that angle and be a participant and totally indulge myself. And I don't mean indulge myself in an ego way. I mean totally indulge in how I felt. If I was tired, I could go on, like I took my computer and I took all the stuff to work, because I thought the afternoons of rest I could work. Now that sounds funny, but I actually had no energy for it. And maybe that's the food, maybe it's this, but also I'm really grateful for it, because I really did drop out, and that was part of the thing. You're not allowed to take your phones with you anywhere. It's a detox from your work as well. And it's so funny, because I asked Marnie to bring me some champagne through duty free when I picked her up, one of the other girls that I went with, and she brought it to me. And on the first night they talked about alcohol, and if they find things in our room, they've actually kicked people out if they haven't done the right thing. And she brings it into my room and she goes, I am not being caught with this contraband. And it was like, oh my God, what do I do with it? What do I do with it? Oh, it was just so funny. We felt like naughty schoolgirls. Oh, and the other thing that we did was we learned from Shelley and Jade, the other gardener, aloe vera. Now, I think it's called Barbara Densky, or Barbara and Dennis was how the way I remember it, but Barbara Dens or something or other is the botanical name, aloe vera Barbara Dens or something or other. That's the particular aloe vera which we need to grow. And then we got taught how to harvest it and cut it into probably a 6 centimetre by 3 centimetre piece, and then you put that into, you've got to drain it to get the yellow liquid out of it first, and then half an hour later you can slice the leaves, the green off, and then you get this little 6 by 3 piece, and you put it into probably a 150 ml, 200 ml glass bottle, and you fill it with water, and it kind of almost coagulates slightly, just slightly. That has such high antioxidant and healing and detoxing qualities. So every morning we had our aloe vera, and it would last a week. So every morning you drink it. You've got to keep it in the fridge so it doesn't ferment. So you'd pour half of it off, fill the other half up with warm water so it wasn't really cold hitting your tummy. And then you would drink this drink every morning, and you just felt fantastic. Everybody talked poos. There was the poo talk one night. Everybody talked about how many times they were going, what they were doing, because there was a poo talk on the first or second night, so everyone felt quite at ease to talk about poo. And then there was this very, very hot man who did the physical stuff, and he's 53, and honestly we all thought he was 40. But yeah, he was gorgeous as well. Carl is his name. And all the speakers and presenters were beautiful. We had a naturopath speak, talking about wellness. The biggest talk and impact that had on me was the one on sleep, because girls, that I probably don't sleep a lot, and that had a big impact on me. And taking my magnesium powder at night has allowed me to get 8 hours in, which is amazing. I've never had 8 hour sleeps before. But understanding our sleep cycle and understanding the reasons for the deep sleep, and it's in our deep sleep, which actually only occurs for 25% of our sleep overall. It's in that deep restorative sleep that all the regeneration, healing and detoxing goes on. And if we wake up to go to the toilet, we've come out of REM to go to the loo. But if we get ourselves back into bed and settle ourselves straight away, we can go back down into our deep sleep. But it's if we come out of REM, and it's in the REM time that we have our most vivid dreams, and our bodies can tend to twitch and things like that. So it was just very interesting to learn about all the different things that keep us well. And you know what I would say to people, even if you think it's out of your price league and you think I couldn't, then plan to do it in 1, 2, 3 or 4 years. I think some of the people that went to that retreat, they do it every year. Some of them do it every 6 months. Some people said I'd only do it every 5 years. One lady said, I'm not sure if I'd come back again for 10 years. I think it's very personal. And it's something that I'd love to do with a group of girls that were interested. It certainly wouldn't be don't think of it as a group of girls going away and having late nights and drinking. It's not that. It is a total look within, like you said, connection with the plants, the animals, the ground, nature, and yourself. It was beautiful. I really enjoyed it.
I feel really good after you talking about it. I'm sitting here with I'm drinking my inflammation tea, and I'm just kind of dreamily thinking about all these beautiful things that you've learned, that I've decided that I'm going to give you a job, if you want it, Kim, as consultant on my farm.
Oh, you know what?
You sound like you learned so much.
I used to do it for spas and go in and be a consultant for them about what they needed and what they didn't need. And I honestly, I can see the power of what something like that would be. And I kept picturing your farm, and I saw little cabins, and I saw this lecture room, and honestly, I think you should go and call it research and development, and make sure that you do it. But you're dead right, and I think there's something to be said for taking that time. And even though, like I said before, you may not be able to afford it right now, if you put it on your bucket list, if you put it in a dream board, but don't just have it on a bucket list, actually do the manifestation process through Manifesting Matisse, and then work out how much money you need to save, and start putting it away, so in 4 years time or 3 years time or 2 years time that's where I'm going to be. And and allow yourself an extra for any extra treatments that you wanted. The other treatment I did was called the wellness package, which I saw a beautiful man who was a naturopath. He had a degree in biochemistry and biomedical science. He did his thesis in iridology because he didn't believe in iridology. So he actually did a thesis in it to prove why it wasn't good, and came out the other side of it going, it's an amazing diagnostic tool. He nailed me. He took a photo of both my eyes. I found out that I'm actually a blue-eyed person, not green-eyed. I thought I was green-eyed, but he said, no, that's through genetics, that your eyes have got this orange and yellow haze that have come over them, which is robustness, he said. But in fact, and he showed me how to read my eyes, and he picked up, he said, you've got thoracic and lumbar issues, nothing too bad, he said, but something's showing up there, you might have problems, so make sure you look after that. And I said, I've just had surgery. And he goes, okay, that's kind of major. And then he said, and then he did talk about my blood sugars. He could pick up like reflexology, every part of the eye on both sides has a story for those people that don't know much about it. And it's insane, the little pockets, and then the lymph nodes and the nervous rings that you can see around it. Also, he could tell my adrenals had slightly fatigued. He said, considering, because then I got to tell him how much I'd been through over the last year, probably the last 20 years, I said. But he said, considering what you've gone through and all the different things you've done, you have one of the most robust systems. And these are just markings to be mindful of, and just be aware, you do well without refined sugars, obviously dairy and alcohol. But if you're going to do them, then just make sure that you feed yourself on, if you're going to have drinks, then make sure that you build up with your magnesium and your zincs and things like that afterwards. So that was really cool too. And skin brushing came up a lot, how powerful that is for all of us. Skin brushing towards the heart is a very, very powerful thing to do, which I did daily down there to support the lymphatic system with detoxing. So it just got me doing things that I've done in the past, but somehow got out of practice or had forgotten about. And that was a very cool thing to do. And then I did a live blood analysis, girls. Have either of you ever done that?
No, I've not. Yeah.
Oh my God. Really? That's so great.
No, I've not done it. Yeah.
It was so cool to see. So my lunch, I said, what are all those things moving? And he said, that's your lunch. It's all breaking down into fats and proteins and all of this, and your blood's just picking up your lunch. That's how quickly it's getting into the system. And then what we discovered with my red blood cells, that they were popping. And I said, is that good or bad? It looks like champagne. And he said, no, actually they should be lasting for 10 minutes before they're popping, which it's just showing that your membrane is not doing so well, which is actually a lack of essential fatty acids, in particular omega-3, which lately I have been really craving and wanting to get back into my flaxseed, Inca Inchi, and my my flaxseed, Inca Inchi. What was the other one? What's another omega-3 oil? It might be just
flax. It's flax, Inca Inchi.
There was one other, I thought.
Fish oils.
Fish
chia.
oil.
Fish oil, yeah.
Yeah. So, just it confirmed a lot of things for me, and it was so cool to have the chemistry, the science, and the holistic approach so that you could do a whole wellness thing for yourself. It was a check-in and a beautiful reminder of what was required, and just to keep myself healthy and staying in this wellness space. I absolutely loved it.
I think you need an affiliate for this program, because it sounds like everybody on Up for Chat's going to be going, oh, hey, how many were there, by the way? How many were
I think a full house might be somewhere around 75, 80. I think we had it.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
And that's
huge.
each time. And they're at 75% capacity for every, if not full, they're always at 75% capacity for everything. So there's a 7-day detox, or you can do a 2-day wellness weekend, or a 5-day wellness, or a weekend retreat. There's different ones that you can do. But I think what I loved about the detox is that it was going to be not the extreme for me, but for some it might have been the extreme. But it's a really good way to go, okay, how serious am I with my health? I need a circuit breaker here, or I need something to just get me back on track, and or to remind me of what's important, or to check in with where I'm going. We all know, I can tell you this, every single person listening to this, we know we could be doing things better. We know we could be doing things in a much healthier way, perhaps for most of us. This helps you realize the damage we're causing by not, or thinking, oh, I'll do it later. There is no such thing as later when it comes to our health. We all know, the three of us harp on this enough, that health is your greatest asset. And if I could give one piece of advice out of this, if you don't go to Gwinganna, then that is why doing something like Cindy's program, or getting your coaching, or the inner circle with you, Karen, has just, I know that what that gives people is, and I do keep calling it a circuit breaker, because it takes you out of your own head and gives you some more education in some area that maybe you didn't think was possible, or perhaps you hadn't even thought of. And I love the whole angle of self-care, because you can do anything out there as long as you've got your health. And I don't think many of us appreciate our health until it's compromised. And I'm just so grateful that I went along. I realized that all the things that you girls have taught me has kept me in really good stead. And the really big thing I took away from it, my darlings, is I truly believe, when the iridologist man was talking to me, and he said, you've really been doing some good things. Now, I know I've also done naughty things, but he said, you've done really good things. And he said, and you've obviously looked after yourself for some time, because your blood is showing this in a long process, and your eyes would have shown damage a lot more. He said, what do you do? And I thought, what's the one thing I've done long term for at least 2 decades? And for 3 decades, I have used my essential oils. They are my go-to. They are my... And he went, well, that would explain why you are robust and why you've got really good health constitution, because obviously whenever you have a crisis or something, are you someone who will treat it or do something about it? And I said, absolutely. Actually, he's another one we should get on the show, because what he talked about with the eyes was brilliant, because he was just awesome. And having his biochemistry and biomedical background, I just think it's cute that he did it to prove why it wasn't working, and then fell in love with it. He said it's not the number one diagnostic tool, but it is certainly an adjunct to have alongside of something, or to prove something, or to confirm something. So,
awesome. Do you know I did iridology for, I reckon, about a decade. I did it when I first got out of nutrition. I did Bernard Jensen, and then I did there's another one. So there's different people that teach it, but I started with Bernard Jensen and then went to a German one. And I remember this so vividly, as this young girl came in to see me, and I looked at her and I said, look, I'm a little bit concerned about what's happening in your ovaries, and I think you need to go and get it checked out. Anyway, she rings me about a week later and she said, I went and did what you said, Cindy, and I had a cyst the size of a pear sitting on my ovaries. And, I couldn't see the cyst, but I could see something was wrong. And, so it is very good. Like, you can really see the gut, you can see acidity, you can see the nervous system. So you can see some amazing things when you look into people's eyes. And I still find myself looking at somebody and looking at their eyes, and I can see things. I can see the size of their pupils, which is a great diagnostic tool as to whether they're parasympathetic or they're sympathetic. I can see if they have long-term arteriosclerosis or calcium buildup in their blood or in the arteries. You can see this as clear as day, and I don't know why more people don't use this as, the beginning of diagnosis.
Yes.
It's very
yes.
invasive. It's not invasive at all. All I had was a Nikon camera lens and a light. That was the only thing that I used. I didn't have a camera. I didn't have anything. I just used that and had a quick look and then wrote down things and then talked to them about what I felt that they needed. But, not being a clinical nutritionist like I used to be. I stopped using it, and you stop using it and you kind of lose that ability to do it, except in small ways.
Yes, and you know what I also there was a lot of talk about the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems. Everything was about how to get us out of that dominance where we are, as she called it, crazy, hazy and lazy. So it's just an insane time, and the way that they talked about how we can thrive through those things. We also learned all about the phase 1, 2 and 3 of the liver detoxification processes and what's required. And I think for a lot of people there, particularly the men that were there, they don't, I'm just generalizing here, and maybe not just the men, but a lot of people, they tend to hammer themselves, but they don't realize how hard their body's working or how much their body does in order to stay out of that parasympathetic or the sympathetic system where we're absolutely going crazy, and how to get back into the parasympathetic. Here was one thing. Here's how to remember the sympathetic versus the parasympathetic. It's just all coming back to me. Sympathetic starts with S, it's stress related. Parasympathetic starts with P, it's peace related. So there you go. That was a good little tip that just came to me. But yeah, we got some really good take homes, things that you can do at home for yourself. And the one thing that also struck a chord for me is, not having coffee. I didn't miss it at all. I'm not even sure if I'll drink coffee again. I just didn't miss it, being away from it. What's your thoughts, Cindy, around detoxing like this and then coming out of that? Like how do you think people what's your thoughts about how people then go on out in the real world? It's not like we were giving recipe books and programs to go on with. What's your thoughts there? And maybe you, Karen, from a mental point of view, because I think a lot of people would feel lost when they left as well.
Look, I think a week of immersing yourself and seeing how good you can feel after, you do clean out is a really good start. But not being given the tools, it sounds like you did get given the tools in order to make those changes. And I think that's probably the most important thing is being given the homework and the tools and the books and the information that you need in order to make the changes. Like I was talking with a gorgeous young medical doctor who's becoming a pediatrician, and she's a little bit disillusioned with what is happening in her profession, and she just said to me, I've got 15 minutes with patients. It's not enough. I can't tell them how to do things. All I do is frighten them almost, in that I say this is what's happening, but you don't give them the tools. And it's almost like you need like a coach, somebody that's going to coach you through these changes. Like Karen spends a year with people coaching them through changes. Kim, you spend 6 months, I think it is, when you do yours. I spend sometimes years, definitely 12 months, but sometimes it takes them 2 years to have the understanding of what needs to happen in order for people to change. You can't expect somebody to go into something like that for a week and they're being told, well, this is the way you got to eat. Where do I find my food? Where do I go? They've got to have somebody in the community that can help them find how to get these foods. How do I cook that? Where do I go for this recipe? Like, it's all well and good for us because we're thinking and living this our whole lives, but someone who has no idea, like they go into a pediatrician's office, like I'm thinking about this beautiful young pediatrician, and they go in and you go, oh, well, you have asthma, yes, or you've got food allergies, or you've been diagnosed with autism, or your kid's been diagnosed with autism, and there's nothing we can do except maybe we could change your diet. Maybe diet might be, or behavioural changes might be something that could work. But you can't do that in 15 minutes. So you had a week, Kim, but I think there needs to be tools once you get out of that week. It's like my four-phase fat loss. You know, they're with me while they're going through that, and they're being taught lessons about, you know, what food is good for them, what works for them. But some of them still derail. They still derail even though they've been 5-6 weeks in a group, learning the lessons, hearing what other people are doing. They still derail. So in the end, you know, maybe Karen can put a spin on that and what makes people make those changes and for good. How do we do that, Karen?
It's such a good question, really. I'm sitting here thinking of the answer myself, you know, because I think for all of us, we become so ingrained in our habitual way of being that actually making a change, it doesn't just happen in a week. It's like in a week you get a taste of what else is possible, but then after that the work starts. So it's almost like those retreats, you know, even with the retreats that I run, you know, that's where the direction gets set, but the work happens when you leave. That's when it really gets challenging and you're up against your habits and you're up against your default positions and you're doing things automatically without even thinking, and then you catch yourself afterwards. So I think if a person's got a plan and a strategy, and I honestly think to have a coach run beside you that you can just, you know, you don't have to have somebody telling you what to do, but if you can just have somebody that you can check in with once a week that actually knows more than you or that's walked the path before you, that can kind of anticipate what the next week might bring or some of the pitfalls that you might experience, I think that's invaluable for people. Because if we knew better, we would already be doing better. And the fact that we're not is just evidence that we're always a work in progress. You know, there's always something different or more to learn. And those retreats are fantastic to reset, recalibrate, review, and inquire into what else is possible. And you're actually getting the physical experience of it, which helps set the neurological patterns. Because if somebody just tells you, you know, we can speak to we're blue in the face, but people don't make change based on what they get told. They only make change based on what they experience. Because we don't know something and we won't make change until we know. And if we're just being told, it's just a belief. And we will not make change based on belief unless we're talking about religion. That's the only form of belief over generation after generations that people have made changes in their lives based on belief. But there's a lot of other indoctrination and fear and, you know, a lot of other psychological methodologies involved in all of that. But that aside, normal day-to-day stuff, unless we know it from experience, we're less likely to make lasting change. So I think for, you know, the people who've been where Kimmy's been, the best thing they could do at Gwinganna or any retreat is to have access to coaches that people can draw on if and when they need to, because they will fall off the wagon. It's inevitable. It's absolutely inevitable. We've been being us for a long time, and you know, we've got to lay down new neurological patterns, and that takes effort.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. I think what was so cool, I think, Cindy, you're right. If people really went on a retreat like this, or even when we've done Awaken the Change retreats or whatever, I everywhere I went, I had my notebook. I took notes religiously everywhere, not because necessarily I didn't know something. It was often to remember or to remind myself, and for me to reflect on after I left there, because a lot of the information you're taking, like anything when you're learning, you're taking it all in, and then it's not till you, like you said before, Karen, it's not until you do the work actually occurs when you get home. It's the absorption when you're learning, really, and then the work occurs the minute you start doing it for yourself. And you know, I got up this morning early and I woke early after I got into bed at, Cindy, you'd be so proud, I was in bed at 8:15. I was asleep by 8:30. How's that, girls? That's never happened to me.
Go you.
And I know. And then woke at 11:30 and went, oh, bugger. I was so annoyed I'd woken up. But then went to the loo, came back and went, no, I'm going to just take myself back. Gone. I don't even remember saying, you know, I'm going to take myself back. I think I was gone before down. And then woke at 4:30, which is an 8-hour sleep for me. So I got myself up. I walked down to the beach, and I did Qigong on the beach by myself, watching the sun come up. It actually brings tears to my eyes thinking about it. It's those little things that don't cost you a lot of money or time. You know, and I'm not trying to say this as a plug, but at the end of, well, it is really, but at the end of July, I'm doing a retreat, just a 3-day retreat up here on the Sunshine Coast. It's only $299 to do 3 days. Well, it's actually 2.5 days, just here on the coast to give people some of these tools. And I've called it the Essential Self-Care Weekend, and I realised that I will be able to bring this information there in a not obviously what I learned over 7 days, but it's little things like that too. You don't have to spend a fortune to go and learn the information. What we three offer in different levels can give people just that little bit of something, or a little bit of inspiration, or a little bit of something else. And it really made me feel proud of what the three of us do, because I know sometimes it's very tiring and exhausting for all of us. I know sometimes we each have questioned what we're doing, or why the hell we're doing it, or is there any point? And I know at times we've been in complete flow with what we're doing and loving everything. This was confirmation from me that the people that you spend time with really do influence your life powerfully. The top people you spend time with really do have an effect on us, and therefore who are you hanging out with, and therefore who do you want to hang out with, and how do we bring those people to inspire us? There was one lady there that said, I'm such a big drinker, our life is all around alcohol, it would be really hard for me to give up. By the end of it, she said, you know what, I've decided, because she had another friend who actually had to give up alcohol, and this woman was inspired hanging out with her because she didn't have to drink with her. She's actually gone home and she said, I'm not going to feel pressured into thinking I have to drink to have a good time. So it'll be interesting if she can continue that. It was little ahas like that have you just take a little different life course, doesn't it? And Karen, I couldn't agree with you more. Sometimes we do actually need the coach alongside of us, or someone, or we've had people say that this podcast every week is a form of keeping an account in check and just having a little reminder. And if it's something as simple as a podcast, wow, how cool is that?
Yeah, and I think you're right. Sometimes that is all that's needed, just to have a reminder, and you say, to remind us, or surround yourself with the people who can remind you. Yeah, very cool. Awesome. So, Jelly Bean, it just sounds fantastic. And I'm like you, Cindy, I never take time out for myself, because if I'm at a retreat, I'm usually delivering it. So
me too.
Yeah, and to actually go on a retreat, oh dear, see, I get all
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Like I've just been thinking about it. I think, well, I never do it. You know what? Since I was 19, I wanted to go to Camp Eden, because I'm pretty sure that was, I don't know if Camp Eden still exists anymore, but I remember being 19 and going, I'm going to go to Camp Eden. And here I am heading towards 60, and I still haven't done a week retreat. No, nowhere. Like you said, we always facilitate.
Maybe we put it out there that, okay, we've got 2 hikes coming up, but maybe the year after next, we do Gwinganna, and maybe we book out the 70 seats 1 week and all of us go there. And I don't know, I'm just putting it out there. We could all do a retreat and be on a retreat together. It would be so much fun.
Well, what I'd like to put out to Gwinganna, because I'm sure they will be listening to this podcast. Personally, I'd like for Gwinganna to open it up for the 3 of us to come down, spend a week, try everything out, and I mean everything. Try everything out over the 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Yeah,
we'll take 3. Okay. 3's fine.
Yes. So they open it up for us, and we go try out everything, and then we can promote our next retreat there. But of course, we must try it out first.
I like your ideas. I love your ideas.
I think that's wonderful. So Gwinganna, let's get on to that. Let's see if we can make that happen, Gwinganna. I know that you're listening, and I know that you would want to be a part of this fabulous movement that Up for a Chat can create. There you go.
How's me? I went up to Sharon, the director there, because I knew I recognised her, and I said to her, Sharon, you won't remember me, but I met you just last year. And she goes, oh, really? I said, yes. And I'm sure it was at a Business Chicks event. in Brisbane. And she goes, oh, no, I haven't been to Business Chicks for a while. And I said, well, it was definitely at Business Chicks. I remember standing there with you. I was introduced to you, were the head of Gwinganna. And she said, no, the last time I was at Business Chicks was Mark Boris. That was 3 years ago. I went, oh, I thought it was last year. I'm so bad like that. So anyway, yeah, it was 3 years ago that I met her, and I said to her, I will be at your retreat one day. It's on my list. And then I did a manifestation on it. Not only, probably 18 months ago, I did a manifestation on it because I thought I really want to do a retreat. So I agree with you, Kaz. I think we have to put it out there. I'm sure Sharon will listen to this, and Donna, the head of programming. I'll make sure Shelley, the beautiful organic gardener, will get them all on to listening to this so they can see that the number of people that listen to this show and how much we could support. You know, Hugh Jackman is part owns Gwinganna. Did you guys know that?
No.
Is that right?
Oh.
I think we should also insist that he is there when we go on our retreat.
I won't say no to that one.
Fabulous.
I love him, and I've been to a Business Chick one with his wife.
We were there.
We were there. Yeah, I'm trying to think what it was, but yeah, she was just fabulous. And didn't you ask the question, or you wanted to ask the question? Now, come on, tell us what it's like. Did you ask that question, or is it just remembering what you were going to ask?
Go on, please. Excuse me. I know this isn't pertinent to anything you've said about adoption or anything at all, but what is it like? Go on.
Oh, that's the question everybody wants to know, right?
Oh, boy, yes.
Anywho.
Gwinganna, you've got to go there, gwinganna.com. You've got to go there. Go and check it out, team. It's a beautiful place. And tell them that Up for a Chat recommended you if you booked in. Go on.
Oh, absolutely. I think that just sounds fun to, and tell them that Up for a Chat, looking forward to coming.
Yeah. Make sure you do say that. Whatever you do, just make sure you say that.
I love it.
Thank you for letting me share that. I really loved every minute of it. And in case anyone was wondering what that beautiful aloe vera plant was, it's Aloe barbadensis, just in case you want, because you have to have the right aloe vera for the one to drink. So Aloe barbadensis is the one.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, I think this has been a fabulous podcast. I think you've had us eating out of your hands the whole time.
I wished I'd had my notes in front of you to give it to you better, because I took notes on all of this. I should have been more prepared, and then I would have been a little bit more onto it, but that just all came from the heart.
Oh, it was fabulous, Kimmy. And just the way that you describe it makes us feel like we're there with you.
Oh, I thought of you a lot, both of you.
Oh, it was divine. Just divine. Magical. Well, I guess if any of our listeners are interested in going to see Gwinganna, how do you spell it again, Kimmy?
Gwing, so Gwing, and then Anna, Anna, Gwinganna Wellness, but it's gwinganna.com.
Oh, fabulous. Awesome. Well, go and check out that health retreat. But anyway, what I actually think would be a really cool idea is to just think about giving yourself a retreat from your life. I was just now thinking to myself, oftentimes I've said to Matt, I just feel like I need a break from my life. And sometimes just an afternoon at the beach where I don't have my phone or I don't have anybody able to get me. Or sometimes just even time on a plane. I know that sounds really bizarre, but every time I board the plane, I feel like I'm escaping my life for a while, because while you're in the air, no one can get you. You're uncontactable. And I think sometimes being so contactable is part of the problem we've created for ourselves. So small steps, just think about a way that you can retreat from the life that you've created, regroup, reassess, review, and revisit some of the decisions and the choices that you're making for yourself, and take that time to dive inside and see what's really there, so that you can decide whether you want to continue what you've been doing or if you want to start on the journey of change. then you know that we're all here for you, Kim, Cindy and I, each in our individual ways. We're all here for you to support you in whichever way suits you best, you know. Some people are really needing some help and some support in the nutrition, so go follow Cindy and jump onto her website, changinghabits.com.au, Cindy? .au?
Yes, .au.
.au. And then, you know, if it's needing some essential oils, if it's needing some more retreat time for yourself, jump onto Kimmy's website at 28.com. Or if you're feeling like you need some support with what goes on between your two ears, jump onto my website, karensmith.com. So we're all here, you know, we're right here to support you and love you and coach you and run beside you in your journey. Don't ever feel like you're on your own. And I guess that's one of the reasons why we've loved doing Up for a Chat and why we continue to do Up for a Chat year on year, is because we do feel so very much a part of your life. So if you guys have got questions, if you've got things that you'd like us to talk about on the podcast, go to our Facebook page at allthews.facebook.com/Up for a Chat and post your questions there. Post the things that you'd like to hear us talk about. Post them there, because we really love to talk about the things that are of interest to you. You can also go to thewellnesscouch.com/up-for-chat 5 years and counting. Will I ever get it right?
279 episodes or something like that.
Oh, jeepers creepers. Seriously. There you go, and that's the end of that then. On that note, join us here next week on Up for Chat. Become part of the ripple effect that's changing the world. We're going to see you on the ride, and next week, before you go, next week we're going to talk to you more about our trips to Europe and New Zealand. So make sure that you stay tuned and find out more about how you can join us on those trips. See you guys next week. Bye, everybody.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.